It's no secret nor surprise that indie games have blown up over recent times, getting more and more popular, and it seems like nothing can stop these games, to the point where they're getting bigger than some AAA games. Maybe 10 years ago, this was a very rare sight, but now it seems like it's happening more and more often. But why are these games getting so popular? Well, luckily, I think I have a couple of answers for that question. How's it going, everybody? I'm CloudRaids, and welcome to the channel, where I talk about video games and everything surrounding them. As I was sitting here at my desk, something popped into my mind. More specifically, indie games popped into my mind. And I started wondering how they got so popular. Because it seems like one day they were big, and the next day they were just huge. And you don't realize it until you really take a step back and just look at the numbers. Let's just get into it. The market for indie games today is absolutely huge, bigger than ever. If you compare this to 10 years ago back on the 360 days, wait, the PlayStation 4 was 10 years ago? Wait a minute. This can't be right. Let me look this up real quick. Oh no, I'm getting old. Oh man, 2005? That's like, how many years, how long ago was that? Oh man, okay, I'm back. Like I was saying before, 20 years ago, indie games were not nearly as huge as they are today. If you look at the indie games that were on the 360, you had the big ones like Minecraft and Terraria, and even games like Castle Miner Z that I loved, but those games were very few and far between. Castle Miner Z was never going to be as popular as, let's say, Call of Duty or Halo at that time. But nowadays, you have games like Pal World that are topping the Steam charts, and games that look and feel like AAA games, but they're just indie games. And that brings me to my first reason on why I think these games are getting so popular. And to put it frank, I think that the technology has just gotten a lot better. Especially if you look back 20 years ago compared to today, a lot more people have computers and technology has just advanced a lot within that time frame. Which means a lot more people have access to computers and the stuff to make video games than they did back in the day. Hence why AAA games ran the market back then. And I would argue that even back in 2014, 2015, when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were really popular, not as many people had these types of computers and this type of hardware to be able to do what they want to do. But now it seems like everybody has a computer. I have a computer, you probably have a computer, my grandma has a computer. People now have access to make stuff and the ability to make stuff that they might not have had years ago. Along with this technology, things have gotten a lot cheaper as well. So the average Joe like you and me have the ability to be able to make a game compared to a big company like Microsoft or Sony, which has really opened the market up for more indie game people. And when I say gone down in price, I'm not talking about just the hardware like computers. No, I'm talking about the software to be able to make these games is now a lot more widely available. You see this in the movie market as well, with people coming and making their own movies who aren't these big trillion-dollar companies. Because the software and everything available to them is now available to them, something that just wasn't there years ago. And in the same breath as technology, you gotta think about YouTube as well. On YouTube, you can literally learn how to do anything. If there is something that you want to learn how to do, there's gonna be a tutorial on it. So if you don't know how to make a video game, you best believe somebody's posted that on YouTube so you could learn it from there. And once you get the hang of it and you got the basis of it, you can just start making your own game. You can learn more and more just by trial and error. But in all honesty, I think that there's a bigger and a more important reason that these games are blowing up like they are. And in my opinion, that reason is because AAA games suck. I talk about this a lot on my channel, but a lot of the AAA companies nowadays just suck. The companies that used to put out bangers like the Assassin's Creed games and the Black Ops 2s, those aren't like that anymore. They have slowly but surely gone downhill in quality and raised up in price. I can't tell you the last time that I bought a Call of Duty game, and I surely can't tell you the last time that I bought an Ubisoft game. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. But what does this have to do with the popularity of indie games, you may be asking? Well, there's a rule in nature. When a big tree falls, that allows sunlight for a smaller tree to grow. And it just so happens that these smaller trees are indie companies. People who really wouldn't have a chance if Call of Duty was at its peak, or if Assassin's Creed was at its peak. But since there's that gap in people's hearts, luckily enough, people come in and fill that gap. This allows a lot more room for these indie companies to actually stand a chance against these big corporate companies. And unlike these big corporate companies, 99% of the time these indie games are made a lot better and filled with, you could say, more love than any of these other games combined. Because most of the time these big companies now, they just want your money. But indie developers, they can't take that risk. Because a majority of the time, people who are making indie games, while they do want to make a profit and they do want to do this as a career, they can't afford to just fall on their face, especially in the name of greed. And if you're a small company or you're just a group of people trying to make a video game, you're going to be doing it because you love it, because you have a passion for making video games. Because I guarantee you, making games is not easy. I don't know how to make video games, but I know that it's no simple task, especially to make it as the quality that we're getting now, because these games are, to say it lightly, phenomenal. Most of these indie games are just absolutely a blast to play. Like Stardew Valley was something great, and that in itself was an indie game. I look at it like a YouTube perspective. I love making videos and I do it for the passion. I don't make videos day and night for money because I don't make money. I'm just a guy who likes to make YouTube videos. The same goes for these small indie companies. When you're working on this game, you're not doing it because you want to make a lot of money. You're doing it because you want to make a great game. Because I guarantee you, the first time you release a video game, it's probably not going to blow up. It's not going to reach the top of the charts unless you're just extremely lucky. But even then, you don't go into it with the mindset that, yeah, this is going to blow up and I'm just going to be rich. But that's the mindset that these big companies have, and honestly, that's where their downfall begins. Because they don't put the game first, they put our wallets first, and that's something that I really love about these indie games, is that they do it for the passion, not the money. Speaking of money, this brings me to my last point on why I think these games are so popular, and that point is the prices of these games. A big majority of the time when a new AAA game releases, it's going to be $70, which was crazy to think that it was $60 not too long ago, but as the quality went down, the prices went up. So no matter how good the game's going to be, it's going to be at least $70 for the basic package. And a big part of that time, the game is going to be filled with bugs and wonky mechanics. Years ago, you could argue that those prices were worth it for games like Modern Warfare, Black Ops 2, and I would totally agree with you. $60 was a great price, especially for the games that we were getting. Assassin's Creed Black Flag was honestly the best Assassin's Creed game that I've ever played, and I'd pay $70 for that. But $70 in today's market for the games that we get are just completely out of touch with reality. And while these big companies are still charging $70 for a mediocre game, on the flip side of that coin, these indie games are charging way less. Stardew Valley, for example, is only $15. Pal World is only $30. Hades is only $25, and these games are a lot better than what we get today. I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I would much rather take the chance with $15 or $30 on a game that I could possibly like a lot compared to a game where it's almost $100 for the base package of the game. Don't get me wrong, there are some games that are totally worth this price tag, and there are some indie games where they're not worth $30 at all. But a big majority of the time, I would rather spend $15 to $30 on a game, and I might like it, I might not like it, but I'm still more willing to try that game compared to a bigger price tag. But I feel like a lot of people will agree with me, because as much as I'd like to come online and say that I'm this rich man that can fork out $70 for the newest game every couple months, I can't. So I would much rather get 4 or 5 games total for $70 compared to just one game that I might not like. And I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. They could take the risk on a cheaper game than they could with a more expensive game. If they like it, then great. They got 1,000 hours out of a game they paid $10 for. But if they don't like it, well, at least it was only $10 and not $70. Because there's been times where I've spent $100 on a game. I hate to admit this, but Battlefield 2042, and I've been completely disgusted by it. I had so much built up anger and I tried to force myself to love the game, but at the end of the day, I just felt stupid, knowing that I've spent over $100 on this game, and the game doesn't even work right, or I don't even like the game. But if you're ever wondering why indie games have gotten so popular, or maybe you're wondering why you love these games so much more more now, maybe some of these reasons could help you. But with all that being said, I'm CloudRaids and this is my channel, which means I guess this is my video. If you enjoyed it, maybe leave a like. If you loved it, possibly subscribe. If not, I get it, it's okay. But let me know down in the comments below, do you guys think that indie games are better than they were before? Did you even realize how popular they've gotten? Or maybe you don't even like indie games at all. Who knows? But that's what I'm trying to figure out. Either way, I love you guys. Y'all have a great day. And like always, I don't know what time it is there, so maybe have a great night too. But I love ya. Mwah.